Yeah, and I think, we talk a lot about time management as sort of a jargony buzzword type thing to mean like, how do you get as much crap into your day as humanly possible? And so I wanted to chat with you specifically about the holistic piece of it, which is much more like not just how do I do more, how do I create more, achieve more, but like how do I make the most out of how do I like get the most out of it holistically, not just in the workplace, right?
Yeah, even saying things like make the most of our time or like feel in control of our time gets like a bad rap because it's like we think of it only in the workplace or, doing action. And when you take a step back and think about time or even time management holistically, we can see that there's, an interconnectedness of how we feel and what we think and relationships and environment and all of the things that impact our ability to be at work, to do our work effectively, as well as our ability to rest and turn off and experience joy and pleasure and peace and all of those things. And so when you look at time or time management in a holistic way, it allows us to put our well-being at the center of it all. And that's really what traditional time management misses out. And that's why I think it's such a buzzword and like, there's so much like cringeworthy, like shame and guilt and gross stuff around time.
Yeah, and I mean, when you think about the cringeworthy and the shame around it, I think a lot of that came from the Industrial Revolution. Prior to that, we were primarily an agricultural society. We worked on circadian rhythms, right? Like we moved in a natural way. But then with the Industrial Revolution, people working in factories, 24-hour shift or 24-hour work cycles, 8-hour shifts, like suddenly our time was, instead of being or up with the sun or we're working in these specific ways that were natural to us, it became like somebody else is inflicting time upon us. It became a constraint instead of a rhythm.
Yeah. And that's where I often love like going really deep into the philosophy and why I often tell people I'm anti-capitalist time coach because our dominant cultural way of looking at time is that it can be bought and sold, which means that capitalism has turned our life into a commodity that can be exploited, and that's what we do to ourselves because we're in so deep ingrained into this dominant capitalist narrative around time. And so yeah, being able to really take a step back and be like, whoa, like time is the sun rising and the moon and the tides and in this is where my engineering super heady brain comes in of like the fundamental equations of existence. I could go into that deep, but I will not. I'll spare everybody. But
No, I would love that actually. I have no idea if our listeners would, but I would totally geek out with you on the fundamentals of existence. Oh my gosh, I love it.
so there's a great book.
We got some real Ravenclaw energy going on here right
Yes,
now.
super.
Sorry, Hufflepuffs.
Yes, which is interesting. So, like, an engineer came up with the concept of time management, and now I'm an engineer, and I'm like, let's throw all traditional time management away. And I really love that like full circle moment of the last century around time management. But yeah, like one of the fundamental laws of like entropy, for example, it always like really gets me excited. And so like the fundamental equation of entropy basically says that the direction that the universe heads into is chaos. And so if we're always trying to control and manage and like make sense of like the chaos, that's exhausting. Like we spend our entire lifetimes trying to organize the chaos and make sense of it. And so one of my clients recently said after working together that they're more committed to the fluidity of being human than trying to turn themselves into like this robot or this standardized consistent human being that level of expectation that's impossible. Quite frankly, it's impossible. And so yeah, I love entropy as one of the fundamental equations of the universe because we got to figure out what we can control, what we want to control, what we want to manage, and how to be more committed to being fluid human beings than robots.